guys, I'm not saying America's never intervened in Latin America. What are you talking about? I'm saying that they've never done it like this. Okay? Do you not understand? Yes, clandestine operations have been America's bread and butter in South America. But this is more Vietnam or Afghanistan or Iraq than it is arming the Contras and training the Contras. This is a direct invasion, a bombing campaign potentially followed by boots on the ground.
The United States is expanding its military presence in the Caribbean as the White House weighs possible action inside Venezuela. The Trump administration says the buildup is part of its war on drugs. Yesterday, the U.S. military confirmed it carried out its 20th strike on an alleged drug boat in the Caribbean Sea. U.S. forces killed 4 people in the targeted attack, which happened on Monday. The U.S. is also ramping up its military might in Puerto Rico. CBS News senior national security correspondent Charlie D'Agata is there.
New Pentagon images show a B-52 long-range bomber flying over the USS Gerald R. Ford as it steams toward the Caribbean, a provocative display of the American military power that is now being staged against Venezuela. The Ford and the warships sailing with it will be bolstered by F-35 stealth fighter jets already operating in the area. Those F-35s are being flown out of this airfield in Puerto Rico. It's a base the Navy shut down more than 20 years.
Why? Because we can. That's it. There is no rhyme or reason for any of this. It's just straight up. It's just straight up being conducted for natural resource extraction, obviously, like oil. Venezuela sits on top of the largest natural oil reserves. It's not as easily extractable and refinable as like Saudi oil, but that is obviously the primary reason. But also the reason why they're able to get away with it is because, and there's also the whole like fighting socialism in Latin America is another reason, right? The dominoes will fall. Cuba, Brazil, all these other scary socialist countries in the area. But ultimately it's just oil and war. We have to constantly do wars. There's no other way to do it. It's our primary export. It's our primary industry. The biggest resource extraction is tax dollars to the defense industry. Yep. And that's why we're doing it. It's laughable when a president says they're anti-war. When an American president says they're going to be anti-war, it's extra laughable when Trump does it because he objectively was not anti-war at all. And obviously there's some ominous messages coming out. One is from the U.S. representative that I showed earlier. The other is from the Venezuelan opposition leader, Maria Corina Machado. In a message to the Maduro regime loyalists says, lower your weapons, don't you dare attack the people. What is going to happen is already happening. The decisive hour is imminent.
Queridos venezolanos, el rugido de esta tierra que exige libertad crece y resuena dentro y fuera del país.
I think one of the most insane parts about this is that the media has kind of been walking alongside this, and the Democrats themselves haven't made a big deal about it either. We've been covering it extensively and demanding that the Democrats actually push back on this, but they have quietly gone along with it. Play the clip. I don't speak Spanish. Now, for those of you who don't know, of course, Maria Corina Machado recently won the Nobel Peace Prize after she had defended Israel's genocide, demanded Israel help, like petitioned Israel to help with overthrowing Maduro, and also had defended the Trump administration's policy of bombing boats. This link does not have the translated transcript. Scroll down. Oh. Dear Venezuelans, the roar of this land that demands freedom grows and resounds inside and outside the country. 30 million of us reveal ourselves to a criminal regime that is on the way out, a regime that is as hostages are heroes, as hostages are heroes, the political prisoners in the entire kidnapped country. They have separated us from our families. They afflict us internationally or intentionally. They kill our people out of hunger. But deep down, the worst hostages are those who force this barbarity to be executed, those who obey infamous orders, ruining the lives of their own brothers. They feel guilty. They can't look in the eyes of their children or their mothers. No one, absolutely no one, needs a path of redemption to come back to life more than they do. Listen to the daughter of Luis Mendoza, kidnapped by the regime in the state of Trujillo. To those who still obey the orders of this criminal regime, this is what they want for their own people. They can sleep in peace after committing this cruelty. This is the future they want for their children, for their families, for their country. The cry of this girl is the cry of all of Venezuela, of your own children. Keep this very clear. Those cries of pain will never leave you. They will rattle in your head every night if you don't act now at this very moment. Lower your weapons. Don't attack your people. Make today the decision to accompany the freedom of Venezuela when the time comes. What is going to happen is already happening. That decisive hour is imminent. The position that each one takes will mark their life forever. History, the law, and the Venezuelan people will be their judges. When the time comes, come out. Embrace the people, their people. You will know very well how and when to take that step, because everything around you will be unequivocal. Be a hero and not a criminal. Be a pride and not ashamed of your family. Be a part of the bright future of Venezuela and not of the ruin that tyranny destroyed. The day is coming. Join us, Venezuela, and your brothers and sisters are waiting for you. Yeah. Maria Corina Machado, the far-right U.S.-backed Venezuelan coup leader who won the Nobel Peace Prize, promised a massive privatization if Trump can put her in power.
For foreign, and this is amazing.
She vowed to sell off $1.7 trillion of Venezuela's oil, gas, gold, infrastructure, etc. to U.S. corporations.
Super exciting for me. We will open Venezuela for foreign investment. I am talking about a $1.7 trillion opportunity, not only in oil and gas, which is huge, and you know that the opportunities, because we will open all upstream, middle stream, downstream to all companies, but also in mining, in gold, in infrastructure, power. We have our grid right now has a 17 gigawatt opportunity of energy potential that needs to be rehabbed. Certainly for technology and AI and tourism. You know, Venezuela has 2,800 kilometers of pristine Caribbean coastline ready to be developed. So this is going to be huge. We will bring rule of law. We will open markets. We will have security for foreign investment and a transparent, massive privatization program that is waiting for you.
Yeah, this seems like a person invested in bettering Venezuelan lives. You know, you can always tell with these people. The tell is always who they're pitching to. Okay? Their primary purpose is to advance the interests of capital. That's the same reason why Juan Guaido had a unique opportunity to take over the interim governance for a brief moment. And instead of doing that in Venezuela, partially because he did not have the mandate, even against a divisive leadership with Maduro, he spent all of that time in America begging Israel and America to intervene. This is, of course, not even about the popularity of Maduro, but instead about American intervention. Hexeth, JCS Chairman Kaine, and Trump held another meeting today at the White House to discuss the attack options for Venezuela. This so-called strategic ambiguity doesn't seem to accomplish anything. And now with the Gerald Ford carrier nearby, the clock is ticking. This was 2 days ago. It remains unclear if President Donald Trump has decided to pursue such an escalation, and all signs are pointing to yes.
Years ago, but it is back and operational as the United States builds up forces ahead of a possible military action against Venezuela. The military presence is drawing notice from locals like Damian Leon.
I feel tense, kind of anxious, not knowing what's going to happen, maybe an attack of someone close.
The Roosevelt Roads base is one of 5 locations where U.S. forces are now operating on an American territory strategically positioned north of Venezuela. Samuel Rivera Baez is the mayor of the town located just next to the base. The F-35s wake us up in the morning, he told us. But is there a concern that if the United States engages in Venezuela, that Puerto Rico might become a target? Right now, the United States is the most powerful in the world, he told us. Having them here, taking care of us, we feel more than safe. As the U.S. conducts live-fire exercises in the region, Venezuelan President Nicolas Maduro, whom the U.S. wants to remove from power for alleged cartel ties, spoke out against what he called threats of an invasion. Raise your hand if you want Venezuela to become a Yankee colony, he said. For CBS Saturday Morning, Charlie D'Agata, Ceiba, Puerto Rico.
Yeah, Southcom bases are operational in Puerto Rico and Honduras, where the forward deployed JTF Bravo is based. As part of the buildup, the U.S. is relying on nearby neighbors. Several USA Air Force and Special Operations planes have been spotted in El Salvador. USA Today, Trump says he's sort of made up my mind on whether to take military action in Venezuela, a move that would escalate an already tense situation after the United States spent 2 months striking alleged drug boats in the Caribbean. CNN, the United States will hold new military drills in Trinidad and Tobago for 5 days starting Sunday, the Caribbean nation says. The drills will include U.S. Marine Corps' 22nd Marine Expeditionary Unit. When has the U.S. ever been wrong about invading a country? I can't recall. Yeah, great track record there. Famously, always good. Famously, everybody always loves it. The locals enjoy it quite a bit when they're first getting bombed into oblivion, and then also having door knockers bust through their homes and arrest random nationals. This is the actions of a weak nation that is on his death throes, that sits on top of a ginormous military, a nation that is at the mercy of its capital-owning class. In the short term, this might spell an increase in profits and extraction of natural resources. But considering that we are living in the ashes and the aftermath of the global war on terror, which everyone basically recognizes was an abject failure for both selfish reasons and also for the normal reasons, the death and destruction of millions of people in the MENA region, tens of millions of people displaced, a power vacuum that comes in the aftermath, and more violent forces wreaking havoc. We're running the Iraq route on Venezuela, and since everything has been getting worse and worse, since everything is deteriorated, even the organs of propaganda have deteriorated, the Trump administration is not even doing a WMD strategy here. They're basically saying, "F you, we're going to do it. What can you do about it instead?" That's their current strategy. Politico, the administration discussing whether to exile the dictator, possibly to Turkey, or arrest him, and how to lift sanctions on his country. This day after planning suggests that Trump isn't about to abandon his campaign in the region. Yeah, the no new wars president. But of course, like I said, will this actually cause a fissure within the base? I think not. I think even with the limited amount of propagandizing that the administration has conducted in an effort to justify their actions in their region, with the severely limited level of propaganda as to why they're blowing up the fishing boats, YouGov polling suggested that Republicans were still in unison on board with the Trump administration's actions on that front. The war on drugs isn't a new war, though. I mean, this isn't really a war on drugs. Also, invading an entire country for quote unquote the war on drugs is new. Even in Mexico, we just engaged in special operations, right? JSOC teams, training some of the cartels early on, working with the DEA. Very different than just direct boots on the ground military warfare. And if you say Panama, Venezuela is not Panama. It's a much larger country. Venezuela is not Grenada. Okay? There's a big difference there. These guys personally think that, what about Nicaragua? Guys, I'm not saying America's never intervened in Latin America. What are you talking about? I'm saying that they've never done it like this. Okay? Do you not understand? Yes, clandestine operations have been America's bread and butter in South America. But this is more Vietnam or Afghanistan or Iraq than it is arming the Contras and training the Contras. This is a direct invasion, a bombing campaign potentially followed by boots on the ground. Okay? This isn't to say that those other atrocities were not consequential, horrible, and even the instances of direct invasion are very different. That's why I said Panama and Grenada. Those are two instances where America did actually directly engage and put boots on the ground. But those are, as far as size goes, and even as far as like previous relationships with the American government goes, those were very unique. Those are very different than Venezuela. They were much more limited. And of course, only 16% of Americans and only 31% of Republicans support Trump attacking Venezuela, and 62% oppose it. 48% of Republicans is deeply unpopular, yet mysteriously the populism brigade isn't advocating Democrats make opposing it a high salience issue. Weird. Yeah. Top officials present President Trump with military options for Venezuela in the coming days. Note that the two most powerful Dems in the country have done the opposite, done the following to oppose this. Hakeem Jeffries has not released a single statement. Schumer made one statement, and his primary criticism was Trump had no clear explanation and demanded a senator's briefing. Democrats just want to be a part of it. They're like, come on, just give us a little bit of a taste, dude. You can't be going around bombing other countries without giving us a taste. We want to be a part of it. Cut us in on the action, Jack. That's so frustrating. It's mind-boggling. In Schumer's defense, he did support DOA Senate legislation that would have required approval from Congress before Trump could take military action against Venezuela. The context of his one comment on this, but other than that, is total crickets. It'd be cool if we had Adam Johnson continues and he says, it'd be cool if we had an opposition party that meaningfully pushed back against this or talked about it or did more than run through the motion on a single DOA Senate resolution. The most powerful Democrat in the country, Hakeem Jeffries, has not issued a single statement on Trump's escalations, serial murders, and potential invasion of Venezuela. At this point, the only logical conclusion one can reach is that he supports it. Top Democrats express confidence in U.S. intel on boat strikes, but calls for more transparency from Trump administration. Senate Intelligence Vice Chairman Mark Warner on Wednesday expressed confidence in the intelligence used by the Pentagon to strike alleged drug traffickers in the Pacific Ocean. As I told you already, blowing up, even if there is enough evidence that these guys on the fishing boats that they blew up were drug traffickers, we know for a fact that given the way that those boats are structured, there's no way that those drugs were actually reaching the American coastline. The DEA's own evidence, the DEA's own investigations show that there is no evidence whatsoever that Venezuela is a narco trafficking hub. And on top of that, even if they were like low-level drug offenders, as I've said before, or even high-level drug traffickers, the way to deal with them is not an extrajudicial killing from afar but to intercept said boats off the coastline on international waters. And yet they didn't do that. This is not how you deal with drug trafficking in general. Mark Warner said he had confidence in the intelligence, but urged the Trump administration to divulge more information to a skeptical public as Democrats questioned the legal justification for continued attacks. After a briefing with Secretary of State Marco Rubio and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Warner said, "I think our intelligence assets are quite good," explaining that he believes the administration does have visibility into the transport of illegal drugs, but the Virginia senator contended that making more information available about the strikes would help instill confidence in the U.S.'s actions in the region. This in and of itself shows that they have no opposition to this whatsoever. They don't have opposition towards this. We'll be paying close attention to what goes on in the next 48 hours, considering that they have signaled that they're going to be doing a military training starting Sunday for the next 5 days. Could imply that this is more than just a military training, but instead is very much a Russia-style potential invasion, or as Russia also said, a special operation that would last only a week. The Dems are going to let Trump do a war of aggression, wag the dog war, in order to distract from the Epstein files. Incredible. Yeah. Well, it's a win-win for the Democrats, who are f***ing awful. It's a win-win for them because, one, they love bombing countries and they love bombing Venezuela, the prospect of bombing Venezuela. And two, this way, there isn't more of a fuss. This way, there isn't more of a fuss around the Epstein files. They can stop talking about the Epstein files.